We have we have a great topic, guys, and it's it's very complicated, and I really want to do my best, to explore it, explain it to the best of my ability, and just to talk about this basically. So feel free to write me in the chat. Of course, I have to finish my line of thought before I can respond to anything, because this is complicated enough as this, but I'm always going to interact with you guys in the chat. So guys, chaos versus the emperor of mankind, and you have no idea how much I'm happy to be doing Warhammer, because I literally just missed it. I haven't have been sorry, been listening to Legion. This is a book that so far, I'm learning some things about the Alpha Legion and Alpharius, which is great, how the Alpha Legion works. That's pretty much what I gained so far from this book, and history on John Grammaticus, and, the Eldar that he's working for, all those things. But as far as all the books go compared to this one, this is the least of my favorite. Just is not as engaging, it's not as compelling as the other stories of the other books. But yeah, that's what I can say about this book. Now, about this topic, because it's a vast topic, it's like to have in front of you a huge pizza and to wonder from what end to grab it and to eat it. I mean, it's very hard to start from somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna try though. So, Chaos versus the Emperor is basically which is the lesser evil. Because, guys, I've reached a lot of conclusions about the Emperor, about Chaos, and how both forces work. So those are both, those both are forces. They have each their powers and their principles by which they're working, and they both have a goal. This goal is to gain control over humanity and everything else, basically. I mean, the Emperor wants to conquer the universe, and Chaos wants to control the universe. It's the same thing, basically. And they have different methods of achieving that. But in the same time, they're not that different. So, let me explain. When we start to see the history of the Emperor of Mankind, how he developed through the ages, basically, we see that he was like behind the scenes at the beginning. He watched how humanity developed. He contributed to humanity development, being different personalities throughout history, which is great, of course. I mean, to push humanity to somewhere. There's something else though that nobody else will consider if you do not dig as deep, so to say. And that is that 40K is based loosely, but it is based on some esoteric knowledge or spiritual science. What that means is that, of course, as a writer, you have to research your materials. You have to research a lot of things before you write anything, and those writers have to have any kind of the best concept possible of spirits, demons, all of that is available, and they can take that information from all kinds of sources. Some good, some not, but I'm not sure if a writer can make any difference. That's kind of not the point. The point is that there's obvious things, and I've talked about this before. There's obvious taken bits and pieces, ideas, how things work, and the warped spirits. I really wanted to make another video especially for this because it's a topic on its own. But we have to know those things to an extent so we can connect what can mean what and who is the emperor an archetype of, so to speak. So, based on everything thus far, how the emperor is presented, the fact that he's basically the bringer of light, you can say, and some other things about his tactics and his ideas of how he is ruling humanity, or how rather humanity should be ruled. I come to the conclusion that he is something of an archetype of Lucifer, and Lucifer is the bringer of light. That doesn't mean that he is the good guy, but it's just not that simple. I mean, it's not that simple as good or bad. I mean, in the way it is, but then you have to know about stages of development of humanity and when something that looks bad is actually good in the long term and it does contribute to the overall growth of humanity. So there's just so many things. It's layers upon layers. We're gonna be here for 20 days if I have to elaborate on absolutely everything. But as a concept, it seems that the emperor is, mostly similar to Lucifer. Now, Lucifer has his own ideas about how humanity should be ruled, which is opposite of what the other higher entity, that is basically what we understand as God, they just both have different opinions on the matter. And the development that Lucifer has in mind is basically something that is crooked, twisted. That is also the definition and the metaphor for evil, because it's not the correct development, it's not straight correct development. That is also a metaphor. The forms are symbolism of different things. I mean, when you say straight, it means basically that it's that something is developing, in this case, on the optimal, most positive level to gain maximum wisdom and just to reach other levels of existence that are very different from the current ones. I'm just giving you this for a context, and let's say what Lucifer intends is humanity to be synced into the materialism, and that will lead to a lot of degradation and destruction, and just the opposite of the most higher and pure of level of development that we can achieve. So it is, by an extent, different kinds of evolution, that is negative evolution, you can say. And so how the emperor in this case, and what I think it's taken from Lucifer, is that the emperor, he started with violence. I mean, he decided from the moment that his father was killed, and then he avenged his death. He decided that humanity should be ruled by force, basically. I mean, it's like guiding humanity, but at the same time, it's like, well, by force, because his opinion matters the most and his vision matters the most. And he is the most developed human being on the planet. So you can say that, yeah, he can have an ego about it. He lived more than anyone ever lived. That now that is something that we cannot connect to Lucifer in any kind of a way, because we're talking about material existence on Earth. That is what the emperor did. But we can, as a matter of principle, compare the two. So basically, the emperor, decides to impose his ideas on humanity, decides to keep humanity ignorant about the primordial truth, and he lies a lot. I mean, he presents himself as something positive in the same time. So we see this contradiction where he presents himself as the end all be all, and the ultimate leader of humanity and the savior of humanity. And he did save humanity to an extent compared to where it was before. But but the distinguishing factor here and how evil works in general is that when evil does something, it always does it for its own benefit, and it takes a lot from the other party, so to speak. So when the emperor is you know uh, ruling and wants in the way that he wants to rule, he is doing that by keeping humanity on a lower level, easy to rule. He presents himself as the best guy ever, and thus creates an artificial image of himself as this light being. And by helping humanity from, taking it from worse to just bad, let's say, cleaning some messes up, so he can smudge uh, humanity's eyes and say like, well, before it was worse, but now it's better because I know what I'm doing. I'm the emperor. I decide that. And the I is very strong in him. I is the individuality that is present in all of us. But then someone as the emperor, the I is, well, extremely developed in him. That is also a separate topic. But the point is, he knows deliberately what he is doing. So, oh, damn it, it's so complicated. But I'm trying to go one by one, to like steps, like climbing steps. So starting from the easiest to understand to the highest. So guys, if the emperor was actually a really positive being and not somebody that fakes positivity, fakes the good side of things, he would basically not lead humanity by force, will not try to conquer the whole planet, or even if he tries to conquer the whole planet, he will do so in like a natural manner. He will not do it by force. He will do it as establishing his character, his image in a genuine way, so people want to follow him without being forced to follow him. And because he can live forever, he could take this time. I mean, he could take as long as he needs to achieve that through peaceful means, and to wait for humanity to achieve a necessary wisdom so he can see their ways. I mean, sorry, I'm looking in the comments with my other eye. g.t.e.r.my.fitness, hi to you. So humanity should reach in time a level of understanding, and then he can ascend on the throne without any bloodshed. Of course, that is much slower process, but once again, he can live forever, and he did live for so many thousands of years before he ever became the emperor, so he has the time. But I'm just saying, what is the contrast and what is the difference between how good works and how evil works? So once again, if he was good, he would do that. He would take his time, wait for humanity to develop. He himself would be the teacher to certain nations, until he reaches other nations and eventually the whole world. And everybody will listen to him because he's gonna tell truths. He's gonna tell about chaos, the truth about chaos, the nature of humanity, how the world works, how humanity feeds chaos by their negative emotions, feelings, thoughts, all of their energies of anger, everything like that, feeding the warp. He will make humanity aware of that, and then he would just ascend to the throne of humanity in this natural, organic way and rule from such point. And of course, a lot of nations on earth, they have different religions, different beliefs. They're all on a different levels, different intellect, sometimes different understanding of spirituality. There's so many different cultures on earth, so that will take time for him to reveal all the truths completely objectively how they are. That will take, of course, time for people to understand that, to get that. So that's why I say he has to teach that and gradually create this process of bringing humanity's consciousness and awareness of the other worlds and of its own nature with time. And thus, when he does that, humanity will be prepared to face chaos. I mean, humanity will be aware of chaos, and humanity will be a lot more mindful of its thoughts. I mean, basically, everybody should be able to control their emotions, thoughts, and all of that. That's the idea. That is what he will do, and that is what he should do logically if he was a good force, guiding humanity, teaching humanity, and bringing humanity to the highest possible level of consciousness. That is what true development is, and not digging it into a whole all of that technology but no substance in humanity. Where there's substance, people are just led on, lied to, um, conditioned to believe in certain ideologies from birth, just zombified basically. So if he was really wise and if he was really good, that is what he will do. There's not gonna be any bloodshed. He will take his time and make sure everything is done in the right way. And he knows about human psyche, he knows about all of those cultures, he knows about how they think. He should know how to approach them, and he should have the patience to achieve that. So I think that this is entirely into his abilities if he was a force of good. Then the rest of humanity, if there's, humans, like we see that there are humans in a lot of other places, humanity branched out, humanity is on a lot of different planets. He could go there and the same thing, he could try to educate them on the warp, on the chaos, on everything else, and still leave them be. He should be, once again, if he was, like, keep this in mind, if he was a force of good, he would not try to force them into submission and to make them compliant worlds through his Astartes, butchering and murdering and everything. He would try to not reform, sorry, that's such a wrong word. He would try to educate them objectively on the truths of everything, and then keep doing that if they're perceptive of this. He would lead some teachers to replace him, and so for them to guide this humanity on those different planets. And if they still want to live the way that they want to live, they should be left to develop on their own speed and on their own terms, and not be forced in any kind of a way to bow to the emperor or whoever it is. He does not have the right to do this to anyone, and that is the difference between good and evil. Evil just pushes. Evil just makes things, first it manipulates to make you think that something is necessary when it's not, makes things like to seem like they're justified, just how he acts, the current emperor, not the good hypothetical emperor that I'm talking about, but the emperor for the care of mankind. He is doing all the things that are exactly perfectly, basically, a blueprint of what it's like to be an evil ruler who manipulates and says everything that it's convenient to him in a particular moment, presents things in light that he wants to present things, and because in comparison to chaos, he looks like he's the good guy, but in actuality, uh, there are two negative opposite forces. So, as you can see in the warp, all the gods there are not exactly buddy buddies. That is because everybody wants to pull the rig to their own, you know? So everybody wants more power. That is, once again, what evil does. So everybody has their own shtick. What Nurgle does, his ideology, Korn and, God of War, all of that. Everybody has something about them. And that is, well, it's pretty normal for, I mean, normal is, yeah, I mean, it's pretty normal for negative forces. And the emperor is just a single being that reached a very particular level of awareness and power, which allows him to oppose the forces in some kind of a manner. But that doesn't mean that he's good and they're bad. Basically, they are both bad, like very bad. So, the way that the emperor wants to conquer everybody, I mean, humanity overall, and to become the emperor, the emperor of mankind, and to kill all the Xenos. Like, don't forget that killing all the Xenos, discriminating the freaking Xenos, where some of them are really intelligent, really, really worth listening to, like the Eldar, for instance. Although the Eldar, they're another story entirely. They also have a big ego that also led to their demise. So, yeah, despite the fact that they're older than humanity and should be much wiser, and they are, wiser in some aspects, they're still extremely flawed, and they brought their race to the situation that they are. Another topic. The point is that to be a ruler who wants to commit genocide on other intelligent species just because they're not human, that is pure evil. Like the definition of evil. He could make treaty with them. If they attack humanity, he should be able to protect humanity. Okay, this is okay. He should have armies to protect humanity in these cases. But but in other cases, to go there to their homes and attack them or just commit total exterminatus on their planets is just not okay in any kind of a way. Okay, a little bit of pause so I can drink water and check out your comments. Thank you, dear Clayton, for letting me know because I'm streaming here, so I have no idea. Hmm. Uh, high races of elves. Interesting. Oh, damn it. I have to see where to put the comments. Should be on the other side of the screen. Sorry, guys. Okay, that's better. Oh yeah, that's way better. Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people, I don't want to digress, but I heard so many people since the start 40K to totally misunderstand and to be, yeah, completely blinded to, well, a lot of things. Because if you don't have a very substantial philosophical, knowledge or esoteric or spiritual science or anything like this that actually 40K draws from, whether that be in some cases a lot, in some cases not, it does. And you just cannot fathom things, and they do look like they don't make any sense sometimes. And that is just because you're not getting deep enough. Now, some things, some things, it's hard to make sense of them, but I cannot think of an example right now because when you think of the emperor in this way, a lot of things make sense, including the fact that he didn't tell anything to the Primarchs. He treats them like sons when it's convenient for him. Basically, he treats them like manipulated father. Basically, when he says "my son" and all of that, he just wants to create loyalty in their eyes because he knows that they're gullible, emotional, and it's just easy to manipulate. And when they discovered how manipulated they were at some point, I mean, when Horus was shown all of those things that might have come to fruition, may not, It's just very easy for the cracks to show and for Horus in this instance to fall to the corruption because, yeah, this is the bed that the emperor made, and now he has to lay in it. He created this very, mm, very weak base because of all the lies and manipulations on top of one another. And then when the other forces come and say, well, he's actually a guy with a big ego and you don't really have to listen to him, you can listen to us. And the Primarchs are flawed as they are. It's just not that hard to turn them against the Emperor. If he was genuine good force, we'll probably not even have the Primarchs. I mean, maybe he could make the Primarchs, but if he make the Primarchs, they will be very well informed and as wise as they can be and objective as they can be. And they will follow the emperor and be loyal to him out of pure love and just objective assessment of the emperor as a character himself. It's not going to be forced, it's going to be completely organic, it's going to be open. Open relationship without any hidden stuff and all of those things. So I would say that if he was good for real, he could create these. What is the word for that? Patreons, something like Patreons. This word escapes me, but something like Patreons. Let's say not Primarchs. I mean, you can still call them Primarchs, but I mean, they will be like his messengers that could go to different planets, try to explain the real truth of things, and if they want to listen, that's fine. If not, they're just not ready for it, so just leave them to their own devices, their own development. They have the right to their own development, and nobody has the right to oppose anything on them. So there's that. Now, if we had a good emperor, but we still have chaos, chaos, well, let's say chaos is chaos. Let me think about it. How's that gonna change if it changes? Well, still gonna be, I mean, evil is the same. I mean, it's whether or not we have several gods that represent it, those are a lot of faces of evil and they're all legitimate. I mean, one power to want a lot of war and bloodshed, and that feeds him in a lot of ways. The other to want to like Zinch, I mean, to want to deceive, lie, to get to his, you know, to his goal, whatever that is, and that feeds him. Nurgle to just be obsessed with material ways of decaying and rotting and all of that disgusting things. That is also something that I mentioned before, when I initially started to, make some kind of analysis of chaos, that all of the gods of chaos are archetypes of lower demons, actually. And once again, that's not 40k. I'm talking about the sources that they're taking, the basis of what 40k is. So yeah, I mean, what those gods represent, all of them, um, yeah, in a lot of ways. I'm not sure how to just put this so you can have more context and understand it. But basically, the ways that they're working and the ways that, I mean, what they represent, Slanesh, sex, like the excess of everything, like the worst possible ways of everything. This is those things are usually in the rot, and yeah, and the blood. Those things are usually very uh, more more towards something that lower level demons actually do, and not the main bad guys. That's the way to explain it. So when I first said this or mentioned this, some people in the comments were like, no, 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 they are this. I'm not talking about how they are in 40k. I'm talking about what 40k and how 40k is done. So that is interesting to know, how 40k fits when you compare it to esoteric science, because once again, that is the source. You cannot be any author, any writer, if you don't read a lot of other literature, so you can learn things. And although I only saw several of the sources from which I want the Miski Bolton, I think was, from where he and some of the others, took, but they're never gonna say like, well, I read this, and that. They're just some vague information, but some of what I was able to find was definitely spiritual literature. They're just impossible to pull those things out of your ass. You can you can totally interpret them your own way and twist them your own way, but a lot of principles of evil are just kept, and the emperor is just perfect example of Lucifer, Lucifer archetypes, to be able to manipulate, to be able to present yourself in a light that is very easy for humanity that is kept to be ignorant, to see that as the good force, and to accept his atrocities, his killings, his wars, his massacres, basically, on humanity itself before he ascended to the throne, then a lot of other things. I mean, humanity 40K. When I hear 40K, I just imagine all the disgusting parts of Earth and how everything is overly built and dirty, and people are suffering, and people can die for no reason, and nobody will know. So many other things. So the emperor needs to address thousands of problems, and he if he were to be good, he would have established the system that I was talking about from the very early stages, when he started to actually influence humanity to the different personalities that he was um, recognized with. So he does not have any kind of a excuse about doing this, but not doing the right things, rather than he's not doing them because he is not good. It's not into his interest for him to be doing all those things, because then he will have humanity that's intelligent, aware, and a very high spiritual level of understanding and thought processes. Then, when you add to that the 40K psychers, the fact that some people do develop such abilities as psychers, those psychers will be much more prepared to deal with chaos, much more prepared. And then he will really be the emperor. He will really be the anathema of chaos. But now he is an anathema, just in a way that he's just different from chaos, but he's another negative force that wants the same as chaos. That's the thing. He wants to rule through blood. He wants to if you don't agree with me, I'm gonna kill you. That is how the legions work. That's how they conform worlds, force them into compliance, and then brainwashes the whole freaking population to think that the emperor's end all be all. Even if they don't worship him, he is end all be all to them, and that's all done through force, through war, through bloodshed. Or if there are some worlds that they just convince to join the Imperium, that's great, but that's just still enforcing, because through fear, they're gonna agree. The ones that agree, it's still through fear, still through the negative. It's not good. So we see this in history of humanity as well. Everything that is forced in any kind of a way, it's a force of evil. Now, the other aspects that some people are catching themselves, I mean, their understandings of how evil works, or chaos, or the emperor, is that, well, the gods, for instance, they done this good or that good. I mean, that they also represent this and that, but you know. Now, this is once again explained by the first principle that I try to elaborate on, and that is that evil works through manipulation, like good morning, to you. I mean that it shows you a little bit of the truth. It could seem that it's doing something good for you if it nourishes a quality that you admire or you're inspired to have. It's going to do it at a great cost, and it's going to use you after you acquire this quality for their own purpose, their own gain, and their own goals. You're not even going to benefit for yourself, because everything that you benefit is, I mean, every level that you gain basically, you just become better instrument for them. The same with the Primarchs. When you see what happened to Fulgrim, he was replaced by a freaking demon in his head, and he was left in the corner of his consciousness by this demon. So the demon, not because he wanted to keep him alive, because he did say that he just want to keep him there so he can enjoy freaking Fulgrim's agony, because he is just a prisoner of his body. He sees everything through his eyes, but he cannot control his body, and he already realized what he's done, and now he suffers behind his eyes in agony forever until this demon is in his body, which is probably gonna be forever. So that is the freaking point. That is why you should never mistake good with evil, and to say that things are not objective or things are subject to interpretation. There are not. There's objective ways that evil works, and there's objective ways that good works. Good works towards positive development without any enforcements. If you're not ready to receive some kind of a truth, well, then you're not ready. You have to grow and develop. You have to be guided, but not by force. If you have interest, if you have your natural drive, then if you express your own drive and interest or something, then somebody that is a teacher could be helping you to get to the next level, but not enforcing you into any kind of a teaching ideology, whatever it is. Everything has to come from the inside, from the natural interest that people develop, but that is through time. You know how a lot of people these days are a lot more intelligent than others, how a lot more people, let's say, are more wise than others. That is because they reached, different kinds of development, and they are born with certain drives and interests, which is once again another topic on its own, how that happens. But the point is that all people are different levels, so it's gonna take time and patience for the truth to be revealed, then understood from everybody. That's gonna take a lot of time, and the emperor does have this time, and that is how things work in general. So good will have patience and understanding and not force anything on anyone in any way. And there's not gonna be anything to justify, because there's not gonna be transgression of free will in any kind of a way. That's the thing that, everybody should understand in general, because otherwise you can be very easily manipulated in general, not only about 40k, but in general. If you think that, let's say, someone, let's say some country attacks another country, because that, the first country that is the attacking country thinks that the second country has something, maybe, so wow, what a justification, let's attack them, let's take all the soldiers in the world, just not in the world, I mean, let's take innocent soldiers that are conditioned from birth to think that they're doing the right thing, and then just go waste your life because the rulers actually other agenda, to gain some kind of a benefit from the war. That's just very simple example, but there's principles. There's the principles are the same. The principles of good are the same, and the principles of evil are the same. And from every evidence that so far are explored about chaos and about the emperor, they're just two negative forces, like for real, two negative forces, and they both want to rule, and they both want to rule over a very ignorant humanity. Now, when you see how things develop with the word bearers, how chaos showed them like Yggdrasil, not Yggdrasil, I forgot his name, that demon. How she, I think it was she was like, oh, the emperor lied to you, and look at how things really are, and we are the old gods, and all. Yeah, and nobody asked the question, oh, thank you for telling me this. What is your agenda? What do you want to gain from this? Huh? Nobody asked. Nobody asked. That's the stupidity. So those people, I mean, the word bearers, let's say, in this case, everybody basically in 40k, they're first being conditioned by the emperor to believe one thing and manipulate it, not given the whole picture. Only the emperor knows the whole picture. Then there's chaos. Here comes chaos, delivering the other side of the picture, and once again conditioning, in this case the word bearers, to think how they want them to think. Do you see how things are so similar between the emperor and chaos? We just see how they're conditioned, first from one side, then from the other side, but they're conditioned. Nobody is really objectively loving and open towards them, and that is exactly what they need to see genuine truth and genuine attitude towards them. They're lied to from both sides. Now, some once again, some of you said that chaos does not lie. Well, here's the thing once again. I cannot repeat or stress this more. Chaos slash evil works in this ways. It can tell you particular parts of the truth, but it can withhold the rest. It will not tell you what actually wants to gain, especially if you don't ask, because once again, nobody asked. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't lie. It does deceive. It does deceive. So the hook, you're like a fish. The hook is to tell you a particular part of the truth, to present the other party as the worst party ever, which the emperor, frankly, he's not a flower, but they will make him even worse. They will just emphasize how bad the other party is, how much they lied, how false they are. He is the emperor. But the Ruminous powers, chaos, no, they're called chaos, like good force called chaos. There's no such thing. So chaos, they are truth. They're just what they are. They cannot lie. Okay, they have an agenda that's and they still gonna tell you everything that you think that is correct, and they gonna present the facts in a particular order so you can be manipulated completely and conditioned from the very beginning to think how they want you to think, so they can use you as a tool. So that is exactly what's happening. And furthering on that point about Fulgrim, when he was taken and now Demon Prince, you will say, well, Fulgrim, I don't know if he takes control of his body later. I'm just talking about his book and what happened, because this is still principle that I want to explain and use for example, and it's still extremely valid what happened to him. No matter what's going to happen after, what happened to him is exactly according principles of manipulation and evil, and what evil gives you and what it does take, and the fact that it's always into it is not, I mean, it's not in the victim's benefit in any kind of a way. So what I mean is that Fulgrim got tons and tons of power when he became a demon, but that is just his body. He is prisoner to his body. And why he's becoming a demon? Well, because chaos is doing that. I mean, in this case, Lanesh is doing that to him. Well, why? Because he has a very strong body and he's a great material being on the material plane, in which plane Slanesh and the other gods want to have power over, yes, because they are drawing from there. Another thing is that, before, the material realm and the unmaterial realm were like flowing into each other. That's also something from esoteric science and esoteric knowledge in general, that once eons ago, human beings were a totally different level of existence development. It was not yet, everything was not yet that material. Earth was not that material, substantial, literally as matter. There was a lot of gases. That's complicated stuff. But I mean that, yes, that is also one of the things that is drawn from there in terms of how it's represented. And then the distinguishing factor, I mean the two worlds got completely separated, so to speak, and that is because the material could develop as much as possible, which also develops other qualities in humans. When we talk about 40K exclusively, because I'm simultaneously kind of like talking about both things, but when we're talking about 40K, that means, of course, Xenos too. And that is particular ways of, because of the experiences that only material life can bring, that is also leading to a lot of knowledge gathered, and that is leading to spiritual growth as well. So once again, that's not like perfectly, um, you know, it's not completely directly super hyper relevant to the points about those two, but it is nice to know as context, because context is everything. Information, the bigger picture is everything. Otherwise, when you look at things at closest without zooming out to see the bigger picture, you just cannot be objective. You cannot actually perceive things as they are. That's kind of the point, and that is developing correctly objective thinking in general. So whether or not I miss something or I don't miss something, principle is what matters. Now, we do also have, I think it was Mr. Aaron Kaneski Baldwin, damn it, his name. I think it was him, the main author of Warhammer 40k, that recently said on Twitter that everything is, potentially subject to change in the lore. They can do a lot of things. They can explain other things. They can bring, the Emperor to life from the Golden Throne. They can say that he ascended to godhood. His body could die on the throne. A lot of things can happen. But no matter what happens, and his origins could change, and e- everything is not exactly canon. That is what was the point of that post, as far as I understand. So everything can change, but I don't see how the principles will change, because they're just years upon years of lore already created, and the principles are there. Whether or not we have different bits and pieces of the story here and there, of the lore, principles are still the same. You can see those principles of good and evil working within the Astartes, how they think, some of their doubts. And one of the things that really struck me, I think I did mention that in one of my previous streams, actually, on that the last heretic book analysis discussion review that I did, is what some of the Astartes said that, well, before when we were with the emperor, we opposed, I'm paraphrasing, we oppose our will, I mean the will of the emperor on the other worlds, and now we changed our fate. So what right basically do we have uh, uh, to now judge other races, planets, whatever, other nations, for the fact that they don't know what we know? It's like if somebody comes to the Astartes and judge them now for their fate, their beliefs, and bombard them. What makes them more right than the other party? What? And well, that's the thing. They don't have the right to attack other nations and to oppose their will. Whether or not that be of the will of the emperor or the will of chaos. In both cases, we see I'm gonna say people once again because they are people, no matter how advanced, especially with their minuses and emotions, all of that. In both cases, we see people that are manipulated, brainwashed, and conditioned to think in a certain way, and they're like leaning to one or the other. They don't actually have any objective outside view of things because they're just so in to those things. They're inside, they're not outside. So it's very hard for them to uh, develop any kind of a broader look on things. Some of them do think or try to think outside of the box. In that first books, when we see how Horus fell to the heresy, um, one of his Astartes was really interested in how evil was presented through the ages on Earth with the image of the serpent, all of that symbolism. Uh, and yeah, yeah, that's the case. Nations that uh, created their perception of the serpent, evil, all of that, and how it works. So it's good that he had this interest. I mean, it's always fascinating when I reach a part where Astarte has this, level of questioning his established beliefs. It's good, but from their point of view, from the position that they're standing, they can't see things from the outside. They have to be like super unbiased psycher. They have to know the history of the emperor perfectly. He, not he, but I mean, he will not be honest with them. So they just have to find some kind of a way to understand chaos, how it works, to understand and their agenda perfectly. The ways for them to achieve this control, so to speak, and how the emperor thinks, his agenda and his ways. They have to know everything, and if they know everything, then they have to be their own selves and not feed one or the other party. Maybe they can find something that is positive in the warp and try to work with that force. Because if humanity or the whole universe of sentient beings, if all of them were negative all the time, and they fought wars all the time without any like drop of positivity, I think that the whole universe should be in constant war all the time on all planets, and destruction should be absolutely everywhere on every world. But that's not exactly the case. I mean, it seems like evil has taken more of a position and bigger portion of the pie for sure, like a lot bigger, but it's not a complete and utter dominance. It only kind of seems like it. That's one of the things that also evil wants everybody to think that it already won, so you just give up. Just think about those things. They're obvious, but nobody actually reaches all of those conclusions because just lack of grasping and information and just understanding of those matters. It's extremely important, because when you understand those matters, you can also be very good at assessing your own self and whether or not you are doing good in life and are you a good person, all of those things. Yeah. So I actually forgot to, I mean, there's so many things that I want to touch upon, but in the case of Fulgrim, that I want to also mention is once again that he lost everything. His body is now a demon prince, very strong, but he lost himself. He lost everything that he held dear. He lost his purpose because he's no longer a Primarch. He's not doing his duty, the duty that he was born for. He is just completely stripped of everything that he ever was. And so what happened there? Well, yeah, he is a demon prince. He has all of those powers, but it's not for him. He's a tool. That's it. He's a prisoner of his own body. Even if he is not, he's still a tool. A tool. That's it. So, whenever chaos, evil in general, gives some kind of a power, uh, and leverage, it takes a lot more. Now that is very actually very well shown in the Wonder Woman 1984. Despite of what you think about the movie, the philosophical aspect of it was that when you have a wish, that wish does come with a cost, and the rock that grants those wishes was created by a very evil god. And Diana said that a lot of different objects were created through the ages by different gods, and they all had some kind of a purpose, and that purpose, whatever that purpose is directed towards humanity. So humanity can use it and feed the gods through it in some way. So in this case with the rock, when somebody uses the rock, they you know uh, make a wish, and then they start to lose something that they really hold dear, maybe something subconscious even. They don't realize what it is before it's too late, but it is what it is. It grants you a wish, but it takes a lot more. So you can't even enjoy the wish. That is how evil works. It's so conniving, it's so clever. Uh, Now, in this case, I mean, yeah, probably all the things that it took from people that was getting into the rock and that was transmitting to that deity somewhere, because otherwise, what's the point? If it doesn't do that, it should be made to do that in order for this object to have, to be fulfilling its purpose to draw from people and to feed this negative force. That's just an example, guys. There's so many ways that evil can work, but it's always the principle, like I said. It takes something and it gives you, uh, something else that you think it's great, but then before it's too late, I mean, when it's too late, you realize that you've just been screwed out of your your better judgment, and something is taken from you that you can never get back. Because the other thing is that in general, and how evil is written in 40k, how chaos is written, is that in order for chaos to work on you, in order to for chaos to take advantage of you, you have to allow it. You have to consciously say yes, and that is how, as well, Fulgrim got his control taken from him, the control of the body. He was brought to complete desperation, and he was extremely weak in that moment, and the demon took full advantage of his weakness and suffering and took over his body. uh, Fulgrim thought that he has nothing to lose. He was convinced, he was conditioned, guys. He was conditioned to think that he has nothing to lose, but he had still everything to lose, which is himself. So without the ability of wisdom and to grasp the bigger picture, everyone, no matter Primarch or not, could be so easily manipulated, because he doesn't know the first thing about what is really important and what he can still lose. He's so emotional, he cannot develop even wisdom. And the whole time, if you make like a full analysis of everything that happened to Fulgrim, you see that he was picked up pieces by pieces, and he was conditioned piece by piece and manipulated to think in a certain way. So he thought that he was right, but in reality it's extremely obvious that his ego was fed the whole time. His minuses is what makes him vulnerable, his weak points. And his weak points were arrogance, being full of himself, which is arrogance, lack of wisdom, lack of understanding, just very huge self-esteem, and that self-esteem was based on his military knowledge, tactics, strive for perfection, which on itself is a flaw, and because it does speak to access of things, to that end of things. So that makes him perfect for Slanesh as well. Everything that he had as a flaw made him perfect vessel and the perfect victim for Slanesh. Just everything about him. And when he doesn't realize those flaws in himself, when he fools himself that he is justified in his actions, his line of thought, he further conditions himself to be manipulated and more manipulated and just turn into the bad program. I mean, to nourish those bad qualities and to go towards the dark side instead of, ironing those things out and going towards the good, wise side. But the demon makes sure that he is broke down piece by piece, he is conditioned piece by piece. And so when the time came for the demon to take over his body, Fulgrim was fully broken and fully ready to surrender himself willingly. And that's once again the key thing, willingly. So evil wins when you surrender. It wins where you consciously surrender because you are absolutely ignorant of what is actually going on. And once again, throughout this course of events and Fulgrim's corruption, uh, he, you can see how he was given the good feels, from the blade, the power, the everything that he liked to feel on the battlefield, to feel that he is supreme on the battlefield, and that's once again feeding his ego. So just so easy. It's so easy to manipulate a person like him because he's just presenting himself on a silver platter. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So, all that it is lack of knowledge, lack of awareness, and that is the fault of the emperor because it seems that although he is this archetype of Lucifer, he's not as smart. That's the thing. If he was, he would condition them, in a better way so they do not um, fall to the other evil forces. He would do things in a different way. He would be a bit more open to the extent, how chaos works basically, to give them more of the truth and just, the other thing, just like smudge, make it blurry as possible and make them blindly follow you, because that is how all the Astartes are. I mean, they have their own opinions, but that's kind of like an illusion that they are presented with, that they have their own. Yeah, I mean, they do have their own individualities, that's for sure, but they're conditioned to think that, well, because we did not make you zombies like servitors, you are actually free beings in a way. I mean, free to have your own opinions, free to be assholes or good guys or whatever. Um, but they are tools still. They are tools of the emperor. They are tools of his ideology. He is just the king, the emperor, who says fetch or who says attack, and they do, and they don't question because they're conditioned to think that it's not their position to question anything. And then chaos is like, well, see this, see the truth, see how the emperor works, see how we are the truth. We cannot be anything but the truth, which is not the case because they still have agenda, they still work behind the scenes, they actively work in front of the scenes. I mean, directly also. They do all kinds of meddling in order for them to turn the events of things in their own favor eventually. And the two options in this case, where if the emperor have if Horus were to win, and if the emperor was not on the golden throne as a skeleton, all those things, how things were gonna be developing, it kind of seems like if the emperor I mean, not only now, but if he was not that damaged, it seems still like he's gonna feed chaos all the time, which is one of the things that kind of, don't actually make much sense. Maybe he thought that he's gonna feed him to a point, but then find a way to dominate over chaos if he knows how to gain more power, and that's gonna take millennia probably. But if that was his long-term plan, to let them, let people feed chaos by keeping them ignorant and easily controllable, and then just when the time comes for him to destroy chaos and just use those same people to feed now him. I mean, they actually kind of also feed him in a way, especially now when he's on the throne, because they actually worship him as a god, whereas before he was like, don't worship me as a god, which was also manipulation, by the way, like clear manipulation of him, I think. I mean, it's like the oldest trick in the book. Pretend that you're something that you're totally not. Make it seem like you're very serious about it, make a big deal out of it, but then when the time comes, if let's say his condition is maybe intentional, maybe I'm saying maybe because we can never be sure of the inner workings or what, you know Games Workshop gonna come up with in the future. But if that was his plan, then Jesus. Hi, Sand. I'm sorry that Oh, by the way, you have a sword. Oh, thanks for being active, Sand. So that's what I'm gonna say. Okay, let me gather my thoughts again. I am not really sure how I was managed to keep a cohesive thought this whole time, but yeah, pretty much covered everything. There's always more, but the principles are what is really important here for you to understand how I mean how I do my analysis, why and where I'm coming from. That's very very important. Context is everything. So yeah, what I wanted to say that if he was on the golden throne, how he is, and eventually if he has a plan to ascend as godhood and dominate over chaos somehow, then he can just using the faith that he already has from a lot of the people, gaining strength by that, supposedly, logically, and then when he is resurrected or returns in some kind of a form, if that was the plan, let's say that he's just gonna become like Saint Celestine, some sorts of physical, non-physical being, who knows, but definitely godlike being. Then he can use his new developed powers to dominate, subjugate some kind of way chaos. I don't know how that's gonna happen. He should be extremely powerful beyond belief, but he has the whole time on his hands, like endless amounts of time. So if he really knows how to do this, why not? But that's still gonna be him being evil and keeping people ignorant. That is what I wanted to explain, that him trying to keep people ignorant and easily controllable and now fanatic about him. This just looks like the perfect storm for him to further establish his power over everybody, and blind faith, all of those things that just makes people completely zombie-like, convinced in their own righteousness, convinced in the emperor's righteousness, justifying all of his massacres or wars or whatever in the name of humanity. That's ridiculous. Like saying, well, in the name of my bunny, I'm gonna go and shoot all the other bunnies so my bunny could be the best bunny, the cutest bunny in the world. That is just being freaking damn horrible human being. Not even human for me. That's just an animal. It's so low as a deed that should be deemed not even human, because it's like demon quality, not not really human quality. I mean, if something is from one end of things, like I said, is no longer balanced, and when it's no longer balanced and it's that to the end of evil, like I said, that I would say that that's kind of like the demon acting in a person, not the person, but the person that allowed this demon to act upon whatever he wanted to act upon. So you have to have all of this in mind and never forget it in order to understand evil, chaos in general. And once again, to all of those people, they say, but Slanesh also represents happiness, it also represents this and that. Once again, all of that is meets to an end. All of that is like, oh, well, just come over here, be happy, try this drug, let's say, um, sleep with this one person. Oh, now I got another one. I got another one. Like all at once. I mean, to the end of things. Like do more drugs. Do more this, do more that. I don't want to say a lot of words. Be banned for that. So you get the idea. I mean, it starts with the little things and it draws you in. It pulls you in. Just obvious. I don't know how people don't understand that, but if some people do not understand that, that means that they did not study any kind of a philosophy or esoteric science or anything like that. Books about how evil works, like even old, old like novels or something, like history stuff, like the Omir, let's say, the Iliada, all those things. There's lessons there. There's just obvious pattern of principle of good and evil, obvious patterns. And things are sometimes just simple, but sometimes, I mean, they're simple in the same time. There's a lot of layers to good and to evil. Like I said, it comes from the fact that evil has one idea of evolution and development, and good has another. And the good is good, literally, is good because it leads, once again, without any force, anything that is forced in any kind of a way. I don't know how many times I have to stress this. To great positive development in every kind of a way. What is best for humanity, and what is best for the gods, let's say, the hierarchies, the whatever. I'm just saying that to abbreviate things as much as possible. And the negative side is a negative side. That's why it's called a negative side. It has interest to gain for you some qualities, like, let's say, higher intelligence and higher, let's say, computer skills, or higher whatever it is, so it can further its agenda. It doesn't matter what it is. Could be power at the school, could be like the simplest things that you don't even think about, but that is how it works, because you are affecting someone else, that's affecting someone else, that's affecting someone else, and that is just a chain reaction of interactions that in the long term leads to a whole lot of different types of turn of events, consequences, all of that. And you cannot even begin to fathom that, because you're sitting here from the lowest of points, and you cannot grasp the bigger picture, because you are like the little puzzle of the picture. If you don't have the ability to rise above the picture, the knowledge to rise above your own current understanding, to develop your understanding, you will never be able to grasp this. So this has to be done naturally and consciously if you have an interest for this. That's the principle of understanding and of learning, not to pull through your own towards your own rig and say my thing is the best, or there's no such thing as I mean, when we start to pull the rig towards us in general, not only in 40K, how everybody are doing there, but in general, we lose. We lose because we're trying to take something from the other person because we think that we are right. But in reality, we both lose because we have this argument, we have this negativity, we can't understand each other, we are preventing ourselves to understand each other, and we are allowing negative thoughts, influences, anger, all those emotions, all that's negative to control us. That's like literally how it is to control us. And then it's like, when I played The Last of Us, that's just an example. I was super hurt and super sad because Joe died, and I didn't see the bigger picture at first. I didn't expect this from a game story. Not that game stories are not sophisticated, but this was sophisticated and totally different level that I just didn't expect. And I mean, for the first time in my life, I just didn't see things right away, which was, I mean, just came out of nowhere, this concept. Now I know that a lot of people cannot grasp this, but really what happened to Joe was just something that happened because of his actions in the past, and that those actions just came to haunt him, no matter if he's Joe to us, for the players, no matter how amazing of a character he is to us. We are biased towards him. We are emotionally binded to him. So we cannot see things from the bigger picture. And in the world, when you zoom out of things, you will see that things have consequences. And if this guy Joe, that we are so fond of, did things through his own will, he took those decisions that he took, people died. Humans didn't get the cure. A lot of consequences, and eventually that caught up to him, that passed, and he got brutally murdered. And that's basically karma. In the right, or I mean, in the moment that's gonna suck the most, that's when you're gonna get your punishment. That's not like a punishment, actually. That's the wrong way to understand it. It's like law of the universe. Um, it's just you push and it pushes back. You do something, you take something, you have to give something. Uh, that's just literally when you take something from the universe, you have to give it back in some kind of a way. It depends on what you do. So this goes for Joe. If you look at things from this kind of a way, and the story is trying to be objective as looking towards those characters from a upper zoom out perspective, you see that, yeah, no matter how we feel about him, it's not about how we feel about him as a character, it's about how things work in life. Sometimes, sometimes you think that, well, the people that, for instance, the people that bullied me at school, all of those girls and guys that made my life living hell, uh, I'm personally not worried about whether or not they're gonna get what they deserve someday, because they're putting negative energy into the world. So in any kind of a way, that's just gonna get back to them in some kind of a point, and it's gonna be the exact point where it's gonna matter the most, where it's gonna suck the most for them, and just gonna be perfect timing. So whatever that is, I should not have any grudge, or I should not have any negative thoughts or feelings towards them in the meantime, because everything is comes full circle eventually. And if it's not in this life, it's gonna be in the next. That's even more complicated to explain. But getting back to the 40K, all those principles apply. That's the point. All those principles do apply, but it's just that, I mean, the way that the books are written, or the lore currently, it seems that we are also conditioned to think that the emperor is good and the luminous powers are bad. Of course, some people do not think that he is good, but the point is that in the beginning, because he is with the golden armor, he emphasizes the importance of appearance, which, by the way, is absolutely true. There's importance in appearance, there's importance in the way that he presents himself to others, and the way that he is written to be seen from others, from his primarchs as well, how they see him as a regular small man sometimes he's like this young man but with old features or very wise features. This is all so deceiving, like it's so deceiving, just transparent to me. But it's basically saying that he looks the way he's supposed to look in front of the people that he wants to manipulate in a certain way so they can see him in a certain way. I mean, appearance matters in good ways too. It's not like for manipulation only and anything like this. But he knows how to use it in a bad way, in a manipulative way. He can still be good and have a golden armor because that golden armor is symbolism of his purity. But that's the thing: if he is conniving and calculating and so knowledgeable as, let's say, Lucifer would be, yeah, he would take this image. He would take the most purest, beautiful image that he can possibly take on, so everybody can be further convinced that he is the savior, end all be all. You know, that's just how it is. He's gonna take this image of the hero, image of the savior, He's gonna replace how you think about heroes or how you think about saviors, and you're gonna be conditioned to think that they're, doing things by force and they're justified because what he lived. Yeah, he lived for thousands of years on Earth. He saw a lot of things. He understands humanity very well, but that is exactly what gives him that power. He gained power through knowledge, and he uses that knowledge to manipulate everybody. I mean, the fact that he was on Earth that time doesn't give him once again any right to rule over us, over people. The fact that he was, I mean, he's the pinnacle of human civilization, human evolution, let's say. That once again does not give him the right to kill other people. Is the same thing with humans compared to animals. Let's say if we kill without any reason, just for fun, I don't think that's justified in any kind of a way. I mean, if I have to kill, let's say, a deer to survive, I have the right to do this, like a lion has the right to kill an antelope for his survival. Is the same thing. Now, I'm not gonna get into veganism, but the point is that if it's like no other way, and yeah, in some regions of Canada, some deer is like invasive species, and there's just too much deer, so it's actually advised to hunt to a point. But once again, the point is that the fact that you're a higher being than some other being doesn't give you the right to massacre that being. You should leave them to their own devices. Like I've said, you should try to contribute to their life positively, and what they're accepting towards or not is their thing, and they have this right to accept or not accept you, or to understand some portion of what you're saying, and then once again to leave them to your own development. And if they want to know more, then you can proceed to further help them with that. But no imposing will. No. No, ever no. No, no, no. Because that, once again, is evil. Everything that's force basically is evil. Everything that is force. Like, just simple as that. If you just take that, you can make an analysis of everything that Chaos and the Emperor does, and see that they're just both two sides of like the same coin, basically. And there's no good power like visible, at least such powerful good force in the 40k to create some kind of a balance, because really there's no balance right now. They're just like evil and good is like right here. It's very interesting to talk about also some of the Astartes like Nathaniel Garrow that for instance are extremely noble warriors. They have ideology that they keep, but they are also conditioned and manipulated. I mean, he is conditioned and manipulated to believe in the emperor, that he is all-powerful emperor. He should be loyal to him. Why? Because he is the emperor. Yeah, that kind of misses everything that you're supposed to consider when you're loyal to anyone. Just the emperor, like he's the emperor. Oh, what? Okay, he's the emperor, but what is he doing? Make an assessment of what he's doing. What are his ways? Kill, murder, and subjugate. Kill, murder, and subjugate. You don't agree to become part of the Imperium, this planet or that planet, well, kill everyone, subjugate, and all of those things. So he is noble in his in the way that he is acting, basically, but he is like, well, like a good guy that's manipulated you bad. That's basically what he is. He has his heart in the right place. He has his mindset, yeah, his mindset in the right place, but he is pointed and unleashed in a bad way. That is also very key to understand. So a lot of the Astartes are really fascinating with their characters, but that is the fatal flaw, that they're just tools, and using their good qualities, all of those good qualities that some fans are bragging about, when it comes to the gods. But that just proves further the point and the principle of evil, that you just make them believe in whatever you want them to believe and just point them to the target and unleash. How can it be more obvious than this? Apparently it's not for some, but that is how you do. And you can see this in other examples, real life examples of, let's say, an army. If it's conditioned to think that it's fighting for the right cause, but once again, you know damn well that it's because whoever is ruling, whoever is in power wants something. And that's all there is to it. But in the same time, those people die for real, and they do lose their lives because somebody else's agenda. Somebody that wants to say, well, you're protecting our country when nobody freaking bombarded your country. So what? You try to make excuses for doing this or that, So just have all of those things in mind, guys. I think that I could also, always pick up on something else from 40K. I did actually had something else in my mind that I want to address, but kind of slipped my mind because you're just very hard to dig into everything and just cohesively like order it. Maybe I'm gonna think about it. Let's look at the comments real quick. I don't know what you're talking about, Sand. What's imp? Oh, this is a stream, so in order to grasp everything I said, you really need to watch from the beginning, but I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. So just let me think for a second while I'm drinking my water, like water break. Is there anything else? There's something really key else that I wanted to say, although I did address most of the key points that needed to be addressed, but still, if I can think about it, that's gonna be great. Water pause. Okay, let's say. So I gave the example with how evil works, how it gives you something but takes everything else. Oh, by the way, Avatar. I just thought of Avatar. That's a good example. I mean, with Avatar, humans came to another planet to take a material that they wanted for themselves and their own sources. To power whatever. That, not uranium, but I don't know what was it, how it was called, but it doesn't matter. The principle once again is the same. That in this case, humans were the aliens on the other planet. That's another topic, but it's interesting. So they decide to destroy the huge part of the ecosystem of the Navi. Thus, that means forcing their will on the Navi, destroying their way of life, destroying that village, the tree, wanting to destroy the other tree, which was like the material connection to the spiritual and their goddess, Ewa. Oh, I remember this. Wow, that's pretty great. I haven't seen the movie for a few years now. It seems like it was yesterday, by the way. Uh, yeah, and well, in this case, when where the movie when the movie sorry I'm just talking for a long time. When the movie first came out, the first things that I heard, like headlines, was like, are you going to be for the humans or for the Navi? And I'm like, what? Okay, well, this is presenting the movie uh like there's two sides that uh, objectively nobody's right. But that's not the case, actually. Humans were totally wrong. You cannot go to other people's world, race, ways of life and bombard them because you want to extract the material for yourself. That's just not how it goes. That's directly evil, like literally evil. And you see the destruction and the terror and the suffering and it was so sad. When the tree was bombarded, just the suffering and the face of Neytiri when she saw her father die, how the tree fell and everybody cried. And yeah, they never seen any freaking stupid aliens came from the sky and destroyed their way of life. They were perfectly fine as they were. But that general, that general, how was his name? Quaritch or whatever, he was like, oh, those natives, those primitive something. They're not primitive. I mean, they're primitive some ways, yes, but they're not primitive in wisdom and how they're connected to nature. That's much more advanced than anything that humans ever knew or were conscious of. Let's say, yeah. So, who are we in this case to oppose our will? You know, I mean, we destroyed the earth in the movie. We took it, I mean, we extracted all the resources that we could. We made it uninhabitable almost. And then we want to do the same to another planet. That's just so stupid, I mean, people will learn from this, I would think. I mean, should learn from this. It's obvious. We talk about now what we can do to, uh, you know, like minimize the damage to the whole planet. So we are conscious that we're doing something to the planet, and we're trying to do some countermeasures to prevent at least some of the damage. So in the future, to just go to another planet and do the same things to that planet just because it's not our planet, we can do this. And just because those are not humans, we can do this. That's just like plain sight animalistically evil, like so low. That just so low. I mean, those are sentient beings. In this case, once again, I'm talking about principles here. I'm not talking about particularly about Avatar in this case, but just Avatar, just a very good example of one more manifestation and representation of what is good and what is not. You see how the Navi have this deeper connection to nature and to everything in existence. They are much more in a synchron with nature, with their planet, with their ecosystem, with their animals. They realize the sacrifice that the animals do so they can feed, and they respect that animal. When they kill it, they try to do it in the quickest, more painless way possible. They say a few things for the animals. So, I mean, all of that is not just what it seems to be on the surface, but it means that they're extremely sophisticated when it comes to true connection with nature and consciousness, like spiritual awareness and consciousness, something that humans from that movie like completely lacked. They were just all about technology, practicality, bombard, destroy everything. Doesn't matter who we hurt. Why? They are not humans. What do we care? I cannot even. I mean, it's about not it's about what is right. That's why Jake was able to see that, because when he was in there and when he was inhabiting the avatar body, he was able to see through their eyes. So if everybody can get to other people's shoes, you will totally see that other people are also people, other beings, whatever. In this case, they're also beings. Doesn't matter if they're human or not. Like, what? That's just so ridiculous that I just cannot. I mean, I when I watched the movie, I wish I could talk to this Quaritch guy and say, like, you are arrogant, evil prick. Like, what a jerk. Like, what gives you the right? And really, what gives him the right? Like, nothing. Nothing. He has, oh, like, no rights at all. And if those navies were more violent and they were like prejudiced like humans were, they would attack and kill all the humans as fast as they could. They would not wait for them to establish bases, to dig a huge hole in the ground, which that was done in the first few minutes of the movie. You see how this huge machine digs a crater on Earth so they can build their own bases. That's not gonna be tolerated at all, and should not be tolerated at all. If you are an intelligent race anywhere, to allow to some outside species to conquer a particular part of the land, to do whatever they want with it. Like, what is that? That's like not respecting your own Earth territory. And when when those humans are not going to respect your ways, but they're intruders on your own Earth, if they're not gonna respect it, they are not welcome. That's simply the truth. And they did kick them out at the end of the movie, which was super great. They were still too good to them. You know, they could have killed them all. They could have just killed them all, because letting them go to to go to Earth once again, that's just dangerous, because someday it could take like 50 years, but they can, I mean, more than that even, but they could come back and try to destroy the Navi. Who knows? Who knows? But the point is, once again, it's a matter of principle. The Navi were wiser, better, really good, like really good, and compared to people, especially. And that guy, to whatever his name was, Tute, I think. At the beginning, he was like not very accepting of Jake, but that was, well, his right to be a bit suspicious. But they still were not as prejudiced as humans were. They were still not. And the great doctor, Sigourney Weaver's character, she was, teaching them English and understanding them so much better. So this movie, although a lot of people say that it's like Pocahontas, it's like this, it's like that, does explore a lot of topics and a lot of meaning into it. It doesn't matter that it resembles just by surface, surface ideas, or surface, um, just surface story, something that resembles Pocahontas or something else. That's not the point. That's not the meaning at all. All the things that happen into the movie are the meaning. All of the things that happen are what is important, and what those things actually mean in terms of people, how they think. Just some people never learn the lesson. They're allowing themselves to be controlled by all those negative emotions, and mine versus yours, where we should be totally understanding better each other, and let go of a lot of prejudice towards each other. Now, yeah, that's a principle, but both sides have to do it in equal measure. Otherwise, if just one side does it but the other one is still uh, you know pulling the rug towards them, just not gonna work. So basically, guys, I'm trying to remember that missing thing that I wanted to say. Chaos, the Emperor. Oh, damn it. Yeah, I can't remember, and it's very late, so I'm not gonna get more cognitive. My cognitive peak was reached like maybe 40 minutes ago. But that is it, guys. I mean, Chaos versus the Emperor. For me, they are both bad. No matter how epic the Emperor looks, no matter how I'm identifying or relating to him, like I said before, I adopted this Empress image. uh, I like to think that I adopted the positive, the positive. The positive, the way that he wants to be perceived. But for me, that's real. That is what is real about me, and it's what is fake about him. So that's the difference. If I adopt the Emperor's golden armor and just overall epic look, it's because I appreciate the realness that this image should be about. Not the fake face, not the fake image. I mean, like I've said, he took that should be the image of real positive good emperor being, but he took that as a facade so he can fake that, so he can present himself as this, but in reality he is not. But when it comes to me, I'm taking this image and this representation visually because I think it's not only because I think it's extremely cool, extremely beautiful, just epic to behold. I never seen such a thing. And by the way, this art is amazing. But I also with that, um, you know, take the image as what it should be, what it should represent, and not as a facade, how he uses it, but as the real thing, so to speak. So if you see me, I mean, if you feel that that's kind of like a contradiction with me, it's not at all. uh I'm just taking is, I don't know if it's the right word, but I'm literally adopting what I really like and what I really appreciate, and I'm doing this by the way that's meant to be. I mean, the way that what it's supposed to mean. That is how I'm taking it, and I'm not taking it or using it as the way that he is using it. It's not the same. So that is it, guys. I hope that you enjoy this highly in-depth philosophical analysis breakdown. So many things. I hope that I was able to explain in order where I'm coming from, why I explain what I explained, and all of that. And maybe in another stream, I'm gonna break down in more detail because information is never enough about those things. It's endless amounts of information, but I could break down chaos, not chaos, sorry, the warp, all of the psychic, all of that supernatural, not non-material and material actually elements about 40K and how they are similar or not similar to esoteric knowledge or spiritual science, all those things, how they compare. That's super interesting. At least that's super interesting to me. It what fascinated me about 40K because uh, you know because I know those things, and when I recognize them, it's just wow, they know about that, or they decide to use that, or when they twist things and change them completely to the point where it doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, so either that's conscious decision, because it's gonna make more sense in how 40K is structured, or it's really like lack of higher concepts or something. I don't know which, but it's just the difference. That is the point. If there's a difference, just really cool to compare. But I have to make a list of all the things that I can spot in 40K. If I can remember all of them, how the warp works, what is the warp, how that's explained, the entities there, the demons, the gods, how humans are developing, how humans think, like psychers, what are psychers compared to what esoteric science can tell us about something that is similar. Similar is not that similar, but that's the point, to differentiate, to just make this side by side comparison. It's gonna be really fascinating, at least to me. At least to me, I hope to you too. Like I said, I doubt that someone from the 40K fans on YouTube can make similar breakdown, because they have to go through years upon years of studies to do this. Anything less than that is just not gonna be very good. I mean, the more you know here is the better. The less you know, it's really not gonna be good. Not gonna be objective, not gonna be correct in any way. So to the closest where I can bring this, it's gonna be a pretty awesome project for me to do. So we'll see when that goes, but that's like a bigger undertaking for me, a bit like this. But I mean, this took like a few months for me to uh, go through the books, go through the lore, go through the videos that explain a lot of things, different sources, again, reading the comments, all of that, gathering knowledge, making those conclusions. But that's definitely going to be a natural continuation of this topic. So we'll see how that goes, guys. I just want to do it for the sake of having it out there, you know, as a unique piece of content when 40K is concerned. So yeah, something else that I wanted to say, but once again, maybe because it's late, it just starts to slip my mind really bad, so that's not good. I'm gonna fall asleep here. So that is it, guys. Let me check. Okay, Jake, hi to you. I'm happy to see you. So yeah, I advise everybody to watch this from the beginning, because it's extremely important to understand what I'm saying. Just, it's essential. There's no other way to put it. But I hope that I'm not gonna be very annoyed that I missed something. But yeah, I have to go anyway. So there's always another video. So there's always the next time where I can elaborate on something that I missed. Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. I really appreciate your support. Follow me on the things down there if you like to support me. And what is this? Yeah, I did invest. I did invest months, and there's no day that I go without studying 40K. There's no a day since I did my Astartes reaction when I first got introduced to 40K. There was no day that I have not tried to catch up as fast as possible those 30 years of everything. So even if I have not read all the books, I know about things like the Saints, Legion of the Dam, the Emperor's origins, the chaos, all the theories, all the little things, the bigger things. So I grasp 30K and 40K uh, in the smallest amount of time I could have, because I have this genuine interest and I wanted to go through it and to catch up with this 30 years within a few months. Of course, I still gonna get through a lot more, but nothing so far that I discovered like from first hand uh, changed my initial analysis of 40K. I mean, I didn't discover something that I wasn't right initially for it. It looks deep and it is deep, but it's not. I mean, when you have this background that what I have, it's just a lot easier to see things even before you know all the details. Because, like I said, the blueprint is there, the principles are there. You just have to really like dig in and think and try to differentiate things. I mean, to differentiate things, you have to understand them. So you just have to recognize the points and the patterns. So how things stand at the moment, it looks like 40K is written in a particular manner on purpose, or just halfway on purpose and halfway just pure mishmash. Not entirely sure about that, but some things are really there, and are really consciously made, because there's intelligence and thought and philosophy behind them, and esoteric knowledge. So yeah, that is it, guys. Sleep well, have a great weekend, and see you very soon. And I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. So kisses and hugs, guys. My dear Garities, golden Astartes.